Hello, everyone. I am so excited today because I have one of my favorite people here at our video podcast, and that's Dr. Dina Altayeb. Dina, have just basically made sure that you live life to the fullest and that inspire many people. And I'm definitely one of the inspired people. Hi, how are you doing?
How are you, Peter? Thank you so much for this beautiful, kind introduction. You and I go a long way. I've known you from my first dog.
Yes, I think that probably 2010, maybe even
Something like
earlier,
that.
right?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
maybe
I think
eight.
oh 07 or 08. Long time.
Yes, yes. So for everyone else, Dina has been traveling between Vancouver, where I've practiced, and
Correct.
Saudi Arabia, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And you're also a dentist.
And I'm also a dentist,
You're a mother.
a mother for three.
You're an ultramarathon runner and triathlon athlete,
That's correct.
and you're a dog lover.
I'm a lover. I'm a lover of all animals, but especially dogs.
And so now I almost feel like I should let you tell us your story and how did it all start? When you look back, how did this all happen, from childhood and what influences there have been? And how did you blend dentistry and being an athlete and dogs and being a mother? Like, it's kind of unbelievable, and traveling between two very different countries as well. It makes me very intrigued, and I would like to know.
I don't think I planned it like that, Peter. I think it just naturally happened. So I grew up in a normal home in Saudi Arabia. I had a mom who was an athlete, so that was my biggest influence for my athletic life. So my mom was a runner in her school at that time in Egypt, since she went to school in Egypt at a time where not too many girls even went to school. Then
Mm-hmm.
we're talking like 1940s, 1950s. So
Mm-hmm.
she's my biggest inspiration because I grew up seeing a mother who was fit and active, an athlete, and that's kind of what we see as or we grow up to the norm, And I didn't try, but I think my kids also see that as their norm. They also grew up holding finisher signs and "Mommy, you can do it," and painting on pavement and stuff. So I still keep the T-shirts of my kids. At every race, they all they were young and they colored the T-shirt and they wrote with the highlighter and stuff. So I keep them and I look at them sometimes and just laugh.
So it sounds like you believe in programming early, programming the mind, and also creating the right habits early on, and looking at people who inspire you. How did this all turn into athletics? Can you share the story of how you first got involved with triathlons and training and competition? Obviously, your mother had a big influence, but is there anyone else who's influenced you? Who also helped you to train and go against all the heat of Saudi Arabia, the weather that has been, that is obviously very hot in the summers, and then traveling as well. Like, how did it lead to triathlons and ultra marathons? It's kind of
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah. It's kind of a funny story because I grew up, as I told you, like being influenced by my mother. But then I've always been a fit person, but not really focused in any specific sport. So when I went to study in Boston, my dentistry, and I just got to join like a 5K race, 10K running race, but just for fun. And until I kind of stumbled upon triathlon and specifically Ironman, I didn't really plan it, but I was. I have a lot of funny stories with that. But I was hiking one day in the mountains, and I was hiking with a trainer who told me he was training people for Ironman. And at the beginning, I thought it was a weightlifting competition because this is what makes sense, Ironman and maybe something like CrossFit. But when he explained to me, I'm like, oh, this sounds awful. And by the end of the summer, he said, let's do a duathlon, which is a run, bike, run event. So I looked at the ocean there, it was in San Diego, and I looked at the big waves. I'm like, oh my God, I never put myself in this situation. And I remember just spending so much time stretching between and looking, no, and
And at
looking
the
at
end, you
people.
did. So, what was your first experience with that? Do you remember your first race?
That was my first race. And I remember I put a yoga mat and stretched in between. I see these people running back and forth. I'm like, no, why we should like rush to the end. And like gradually I improved. And every year I set myself, I'm a goal oriented person. So every year I set myself a goal that is a little more difficult than the goal before until I,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like did my first Ironman and I got the Ironman bug and started like, doing more and more of them. And every year, because it's a competition against yourself, it's not a competition against anyone else. It's you being a better version of yourself.
Have you learned anything about yourself, and how do you harness your ego, or is there ego?
There is a lot. Like I've been doing triathlon for over 20 years now, so I've gone through like many stages. We are also always influenced by our coach. So when
Mm-hmm.
you're coached by someone, you kind of adopt the same coach philosophy. So I moved, through the years between different coaches. I had coaches where like a little more egocentric. This, oh, you got to go there and like beat everybody and be, the first one and look at your competition. But that wasn't me. That didn't
Mm-hmm.
bring the best
Mm-hmm.
out of me at all. I am always intrigued by a coach that is more on the spiritual side. That there is a higher meaning beyond racing on the physical level, beyond just racing, to just cross the finish line and, have a rank that what is your rank within that day? It's more than that. It's like, why are you doing this in the first place? What does it mean to you? Why are you putting yourself through this stress? There's always a reason.
So, why are you doing it? What does it mean to you?
I also transformed. Like when I started, I was doing it because I thought it was a challenge. Then I was doing it to get better because I didn't know how or how to get better until you get to a level where you say, okay, now I kind of am a better. Now I need to get to my next goal, which was to get to the championship in Kona.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my goal for about a big part of my 12, 15 years of racing. And then after that, I had a biggest, like almost a turning moment where like, okay, now you've been working so hard on a milestone, on an achievement. And now you got to that achievement. So what's next? Do you still
Mm-hmm.
continue to do it or
Mm-hmm.
do you move to something else? And
Mm-hmm.
there's a bit of a phase of stillness that we have to go through to think of why
Mm-hmm.
are you, and do we still want to do this? And will it still have the same excitement as it did? And now, I've gone 4 times to Kona and it's still as special to my heart as the first time. But now I do it for a different reason. I don't do it because I want to get there. I do it because I really, really enjoy that place. I
Mm-hmm.
connect more to, higher spiritual energy. I try to help
Mm-hmm.
everybody. It's beyond just, I'm going to put myself through so much struggle to get under this, time to be there. It's more because I really love the sport.
I'm listening to you and listening to you getting the Kona and then having a period of stillness. I know that some people feel down or they get even depressed when they reach their goal. Olympic athletes and high performers like you sometimes kind of reach to that goal and then they really ask the question, what shall I do now? And they're lost. They feel lost. So it seems like you found your way, and you actually, it seems like you enjoy the period of stillness and you enjoy to kind of like the contemplation around what do I do now? How do I decide? And then it's really inspiring to see how you navigate through life and you always see the positive side. Do you think that this is your genes and your parents' contribution to you being that way, or do you think that this is what you created, or this is what you became over time?
I think it's both. But it's a blessing. It's something that if you can look into the glass half full, you will always have a better outlook at life because we always see
Mm-hmm.
the world from our own glasses. And I've always said that I cannot pass my expertise to anyone if I have not achieved my dream. Because if I've not gotten to the goal that I set, how can I inspire you to get to your goal? So once I reach that milestone, I've always then I said to myself, okay, well now I'm ready to kind of pass on the torch to someone else and and enjoy mentoring other people. But in the meantime, I'm not ready to quit yet. I don't think I quit easily. So I just have to look at life again from a different glasses. So my glasses cannot be I'm going to be the best version of myself, because, as we age, as we progress in life, you're past maybe the fastest time of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Mm-hmm.
it's how can I be healthy? How can I enjoy the process more? So instead of like beating myself up, like how can I really be fully present in everything that I do, even in the training? Why am I? And I have to find, why am I
Mm-hmm.
still want to do this? Because the
Mm-hmm.
why is quite important. And in anything in life, if we don't know why we're doing it, are we doing it because of everybody else? Are we doing it for society? Are we doing it for status?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we doing it for our own self? So if I can do something for my own self, then I'd be much more present and I'll achieve a lot more.
And you'll be able to be there for others, because I definitely see that you are caring for many, whether it's humans and also animals. We'll be kind of probably going back and forth between the different parts of your life. But, obviously, I met you as a dog lover. And if I could give you one label as a client of mine for many years, I would just say extremely loving and caring. Beyond, you're in the upper 1% of the clients who are always there for your animals, like who always try to do the best. And that's what's intrigued me, because despite you being busy, and I've seen many busy people, you seem to always find time for what matters in life. And you seem to always find time for your animals and really give them the best, the very best care, your love, attention, making sure that you even travel with your animals back and forth because you didn't want to leave them behind, and your competitions and so on. So I always thought that the Middle Eastern culture is not as dog centric, and he completely blew away all my preconceived ideas what it was. And I love that, because it's good. It's good for us to realize that the world is not what we think it is. So how did you get to dogs, and how did it all start? And was there a dog that really was your soul dog? Because a lot of our listeners have their soul dog, so they connect with a certain dog. So tell me more.
So I think now I can see a pattern of my life. Like whenever I say I'll never do something, I will end up doing it just as much. So I remember, like what you said, like it's not, having a dog is not part of our culture. So we didn't grow up having dogs, and I had a phobia to dogs. I was like terrified. So if I go somewhere and they have a dog, I'll like ask maybe 10 times whether the dog is on leash before I can step into the house. And I remember my son, Hisham, he was about like 5 or 6 years old, and he kept on like, "Can I have a dog? Can I have a dog?" And I'm like, "No, absolutely not. You cannot have a dog." He kept on insisting for like over a year. And then I said, "Okay, I'll go with you to the breeder and I'll look at the dog. And if I feel I like the dog, we can make that decision. If not, then we can, go back to not having a dog, and that'd be fine." So we said, okay. And at that time, the breeder was in Kelowna. So we drove to Kelowna with the whole family. And then we went to this little cute lab puppy that was about just a few months old. And I just held that dog in my hand, and I was not scared at all.
Wow.
So we ended up getting the dog that day. And after that, I transformed. I was not scared. I was to the opposite of being terrified of dogs. I was like a big dog lover. But of course, taking the responsibility as a parent to having a pet, meaning this pet will eventually end up with the parent. Because the kids,
It's
like,
true.
no matter how committed they are, they'll be committed for a little bit, and then it's a soul that lives in your
Hmm.
house. You've got to
Hmm.
take care of it. And at the time, we're talking about like early on, maybe in the 2008, 2009. There weren't as many vet clinics and stuff. So you kindly like were my help in this. Every time something happens and the dog needs care, I'll phone you, Peter. Or whatever. These are the symptoms. And with my like medical background, I could navigate through many of them.
Yeah. When we were in Saudi, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
Skip, my dog, and I never forget this, Peter. I came with both dogs to your house in Vancouver. And I don't know why we came. I think maybe I was supposed to pick up something from your house or medicine. And then you looked at the dog, Skip, and you said, why does he have a lump in his neck? And then you looked and you're like, oh my God. something is going on. I got aspirated, and then you're like, Dina, go get it checked right now. And it ended up that Skip had cancer, and you helped me through that.
Mm.
Like we, like navigated through that
Mhm.
obstacle because
Mhm.
there weren't
Mhm.
many clinics that would offer that care. And we tried, we gave him as much help as we can until the day was there when he needed to pass.
Yeah, and I also really enjoyed, and this is something that is important to mention, how he navigated through this difficult and challenging situation, and how I think Skip lived longer than most dogs with his diagnosis, and it was because of you, and because he've chosen not to really necessarily go for some sort of extreme measures of chemotherapy, but he used more holistic approaches and methods. And we knew that the situation was difficult, but you were there until the very last heartbeat, and you're kind and loving, and at the same time pragmatic, or kind of level-headed, I would say, when it comes to those situations, and that really is inspiring, and that's how you are. um, so you have how many dogs do you have now?
Oh, well, now I have 4 dogs, but I had 7 at one point. Because again, my kids, they get pets and then they either travel, move on with their life, or, get, have a significant other. And my son got married, and I didn't like the dog already lived with me so for so many years. So it's hard to give that up too. And I love like dogs are just like humans. They all have their different
Uh-huh.
personalities. Everyone takes a role in the house. And
Is there anything that you've learned from them?
dogs teach you unconditional love, because dogs are loyal. They'll always wait for their owner to come, or they'll always wait for me by my door. Even if I'm traveling, they think that I'll come out of the room and give them the treats, and we'll all go out to the garden and have some like morning time. So dogs are loyal, and they love you no matter what. They love you if you're grumpy. They love you if you're happy. If you're not happy, they're always 100% excited to see you. If we
Yeah.
can live that as humans, we'd be a lot happier, I think, because they don't have expectation of you. They don't like love you only if you give them treat, and they don't love you if you don't.
I may object to that, because when I have ice cream or something like that, my dog expects me to give him some. so, but
When
I
it
know
comes to food,
exactly.
it's a different situation.
But I do know what you're saying, because I was just saying dogs don't really care what we look like, how old we are, whether we have wrinkles, whether we are thin or heavy, or there is no judgment, and I think that's why we have so much connection with them. It's unbelievable.
And they know, like they can sense you. They can sense your energy and sense whether you're happy or if you're not happy. And if you're not happy, they won't say anything, but they'll just sit by your side, kind of telling you, okay, we're there if you need something.
If you had a person who's never had a dog, and maybe a person who is afraid of dogs, what would you tell them? Like if you met them for coffee or.
I'll just share my story. I was not only like, I remember one time I went to somewhere in South Africa to a farm, and they had a lot of like, farm dogs. And I stayed in my room for 3 days. I wouldn't go out because I was so scared. So I don't think there would be anyone that was as terrified as I was from dogs. And there'll always be a turning point if we choose to.
It sounds like you think that everyone could be dog lover if they just if they held a puppy, or if
Yeah.
they
But
connected
it's
with the
because we're
dog.
not introduced to this as children. I think it's very healthy to introduce children to animals. It could be a cat or a dog or anything. But so kids would learn to care for someone else
Mhm.
other than themselves. It teaches them to just start life by caring for others.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's definitely, it's a good foreplay for children. If you have, speaking of children, you have I believe 2 children.
No, I have 3 kids and I have
Eh,
a grandbaby.
Oh
And my
my!
grandbaby would come to the house and just play with the dogs.
So you're telling me your grandma? That doesn't
I'm
really, it
grandma. Yeah,
doesn't.
I'm a young grandma.
That's unbelievable. Tell me about your children and their love for dogs, because I know they're dog lovers. And first, I want to know how they are. because I haven't seen them for quite some time.
Yeah, I told them I'm having a podcast with you. I was like, oh my God, say hi to Peter. They all know you very well. And whenever any of my dogs, would have a health issue, they go, Mom, call Peter. What are
I
you
get the
doing?
odd text. Yeah, yeah. What can we do about this or that?
Yeah. So Hisham, my son, he volunteers for the dog shelter,
Mm-hmm.
and he also has like all sort of animals in his house with his baby, which they, he grows up to be like just very free and very comfortable around animals.
What kind of dog does he have?
He's rescued most of his dogs. He has Bree. She's a dog that had the spina bifida.
So needs special care.
So that dog couldn't have surgery because I think of her conditions, and he decided to adopt a dog. And this dog now runs with my dogs like there's nothing, and she's so happy to be around with. He's got smaller one and bigger ones.
Oh my goodness!
And of course, Lana, she's the one that has Snickers, the famous Snickers,
Yes,
with his own Instagram. And I think,
what is the handle of Snickers if people wanted to?
I gotta find that out. I'll find it and I'll text it to you.
Sure, no problem.
And he's got his own outfits and stuff. But he's a little older now. He's I think maybe 13.
Yeah,
And
because I know Snickers since he was a puppy. I've known him.
Yes.
It's so lovely to actually see such a family of dog lovers, such an inspiring family of dog lovers living in Saudi Arabia. I think that for people, this is a real alteration of the views, how we see other countries, right? I know that from my own experience because I came from the Czech Republic to Canada. And when I arrived, when I said I was from the Czech Republic, people would go, oh, the country. And while Prague is now the 6th or 7th most visited city in Europe, and it's always been cultured, and education was good, and we didn't really suffer. And people had this idea from the propaganda that life is much worse than it actually was. So I completely understand in line, and I'm curious, and I think that I'm going to make a trip one day if there's an opportunity.
Yeah, no, I think people of Saudi Arabia love animals. Maybe not necessarily dogs, but a lot of people love cats, have cats. They have birds as well. Very common for people to have birds, and I think we all as human can connect with animals.
Of course, that's where we belong. We belong in nature, and we created these artificial environments. And I think that even your running, from what I sense, is about connecting with nature and just kind of noticing the world around.
Very true, very true. Like every place that I go to, every race that I go to, I would always research the city before the race. Because I've tried, as I said, through 20 years, I've traveled across the world to do races in different cities. And if the city has a little bit of maybe a little more intense vibes, then it doesn't quite connect to me. But I love to go to a place where, that's why Hawaii is special, because it's just in nature. There's not as much light pollution. It's quite a virgin island. It's really, really beautiful. Same with many other places that I've raced across the world, where the energy would be like you're very much at one with nature, and that brings the best out of me.
And you also feel the elements. You feel the ocean. You feel the volcano, the lava, the earth, and it's very harmonious and peaceful place. And at the same time, it's very violent. So I think that what I like about Hawaii is the contrast, and that there's everything, all the weathers. You can get tropics to the snow and snowstorms, and all the temperatures basically, and the ocean can be very mild and very gentle and very savage.
And the thing about Hawaii is you have to kind of embrace yourself within that energy. You can't go in with a huge ego saying, I'm going to just crush the day, because you're going to get crushed in that severe elements of the island. But if you kind of surrender to the environment and to and ask for that to bring the best out of you, then you have a really fantastic day. But the more I do these races, the more I really get to see that it's not about the time it's not about you finishing time, but it's more about the journey leading to the race, and also the journey within the race.
So through exercise and through fitness and through endurance and through all that, you basically access the deeper core, the deeper soul of yours, and you're able to understand it better.
You're exposed, like that endurance races. exposes your core,
Hmm.
exposes your commitment. You're totally exposed because you won't survive.
I find Hawaii, and we will stay with Hawaii a little bit because when I started coming here in the 2000s, I felt that there were a lot of people who were quite unhappy. And my philosophy about it was that they come to paradise, but they take themselves with them when they arrive,
Yeah,
right? They
yeah, yeah,
brought themselves with
yeah.
them. That's in quotation marks. And then it takes a little while. I think that, and as you said, I love that you said that when they fight it, when they fight what is, they're gonna get beaten down, right, by the circumstances. And Maui is definitely like that. I think that the volcanic energy kind of runs parallel with human energy. When people arrive here, everything comes to the surface. I
Hmm.
remember one time in Maui when I organized a retreat for about 12 very advanced yogis from Vancouver. They arrived here and we had maybe like 5 or 6 day retreat. In the middle of the retreat, everyone fell apart
Oh.
emotionally and partially physically. And I was going like, oh my goodness, like, how is that possible? Because I used to attend these classes of the two yoga teachers that taught us. And I thought it was okay because I've been to Maui or had been to Maui for some time, but it was very interesting to see. So I understand. Based on what I've learned about anthropology and humans, evolution has programmed us to preserve energy, to eat when we can, and then be lazy. So we just procreate and have children. But that's what nature has intended for us. And now we're in a different situation and we need to keep healthy and we want to live longer and healthier. The first question that I have is, do you have any recommendations for people to overcome laziness or not getting to looking after their health when it comes to activity?
So, good question, Peter. But I think, from my perspective, it's all about finding a bigger goal. And for me, it's about finding a challenging goal.
Hmm.
So I went
Hmm.
through that process too. Before like doing any of the races and stuff, I would like be very fit in the gym and can do like all the push-ups and pull-ups and stuff. But that to me lacked a cause to be motivated. Like, okay, you go do the class, but I needed something better than just, oh, I want to look good. So to me, what like my motivation is always is having a race,
Hmm.
because I know when I have a race, I have something to work towards,
Hmm.
and I have a plan, and I have a goal, and I have steps, and for how my scientific brain works, this is perfect because it keeps everything around me organized. And when I'm organized internally, I'm also organized externally because if I have a race and a plan, then everything fits within that plan. Then my social life fits, my work fits, my family time fits, and it all feels very much under control, which is perfect. It's when I don't have stuff. It's when I don't have a race and when I don't have a plan and when I don't have a goal to work towards that you think, okay, maybe not today. Maybe I'll just cancel the class today and maybe join tomorrow because there's nothing, it doesn't lead to anything.
So what you're saying is that if we want to be active or if we want to exercise or if we want to do something with our dogs, whatever it is, we need to set a plan. So you would set a daily plan or weekly or monthly plan, or how do you do that?
More than a plan, set definitely a goal. Like, what do I need to achieve? What would I like to achieve, within 2024? It doesn't have to be a New Year resolution or anything drastic, but, by the end of the year, this is what I hope to be, or this is, it depends on the person and how much of a goal oriented personality they have. But if they are something similar to me, then they'd feel comfortable. It's like, okay, by the end of the year, I want to do my first 10K. Something.
Hmm.
Then they will feel that they have something to work
Hmm.
towards. But then, end of the year is 12 months away. So I got to have like smaller little goals that I work towards. And if I have that, then I'd say, okay, maybe I'll take my dogs for a walk, on 2 of the days and make it a hike and then I'll run on the other days. And then you have kind of to make a plan that fits.
So if let's say any of our dog lovers in the community would like to be more active with their dogs, they would basically take a calendar and say, okay, on every day I'll do 10,000 steps with my dog or 15,000 steps with my dog, and then twice a week I would go uphill or something like that, or or go for a longer hike. Is that how you do it? You would make a plan?
Yeah, and usually, like, this is where also it ties into how my goal transformed into like being more of a mentor for someone that wants to take a goal like that. We get very excited as human
Mm-hmm.
beings. So in the beginning, you would say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go 10,000 steps every day, hikes twice a week, and you do it for the first 2-3 days. Then you realize it's just not sustainable. So what I would do is I would sit with you and say, okay, Peter, so what other commitments do you have in your life? And you say, well, I have, a demanding job. I'm on Zoom call from 7 a.m. till like noon. And then we'll say, okay, well, maybe it's unrealistic that you'd go at 6 of it every morning to go for your 10,000 steps. So how about we make the 10,000 steps every other day, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and we make a hike just once a week. It's about having it something realistic that would still serve you to your plan, but also having the accountability of having to check in with me and saying, hey, yeah, I've done it, or I didn't do it, because we get or I personally get too excited and commit to too many things, and then I realize, oh, I don't think I can fit everything.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than the goal being something motivational, it becomes an added stressor to our life.
This makes me really think of one thing, and that is whether our community could contact you, the members of our community could contact you if they have certain goals. So whether they're in fitness or health or other life goals, because it sounds like you have your life really well together. How do you mentor people?
Well, I don't think I have my life fully together, but I, as much as I can within my control, and I'm okay with whatever outcome I I have at this moment. I'm at peace. Definitely, they can contact me. I think I do well because of my personality and my training and my upbringing and my medical background. I do well into setting a plan and helping someone, mentoring them. First of all, finding a dream or finding a goal, and then how would you reach that goal within the limitations that we have in life. So definitely anybody can contact me.
Maybe I'll book a session.
You'll be my number one client.
I know that many people these days are reading and listening and watching videos on how to stay fit, how to be fit, how to lose weight, how to eat better, how to prevent heart disease and diabetes and all that. Do you have any recommendations? Do you have any, points that you'd like to share?
No shortcuts. Everybody's looking for a shortcut. We're all into like a fast moving society where we have no time. We don't have time to read anything. We want like give us the steps to do. But really when it comes to your health, there's no shortcuts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you want to fit, you got to do the work. There's no pill that would make you fit. There's no like pill that would make you lose weight. And it is just about like and being okay with less perfect results, because we all look into like these perfect models, filtered Instagram,
Adjusted AI adjusted
adjusted,
images
and you're like, yeah, why can't I be like that person? But I always I learned this from one of my friends and trainers. She said, she was a little older than me, so she said, when you look at your photos now, you will you look at your photos 10 years from now, you say, oh my God, I looked so good. But at that time you said, no, I wish I could lose a little bit of here. And then I would say to myself, what would my body tell me? All these legs that have carried me through all these marathons, all these races, all these, day in, day out. We put so much abuse on my body, and return and say, oh, I don't like you. I don't like my body. I don't like how I look like. No, I think we have to be graceful and be kind to ourselves. And we try and be better version of ourselves. We try to eat better just because we want to have a healthier lifestyle. We want to have a healthier quality of life, especially when we get older. But not because I'm unhappy with how I look right now. Because if I'm unhappy, there's something deeper than my looks. It's not my looks that is making me unhappy. There's a deeper layer of unhappiness. So me changing my looks is not going to solve the inner core problem.
What do you think healthy diet is for a person who wants to stay well for many years to come?
I think eating less, eating more real food. Because we are, as humans, we're meant to eat real food, not packaged food.
Real food.
Not everything that comes out of a box or can or a bottle. Like the more natural ingredients, you have, the better it is. And also be mindful when we eat that we are nourishing our body. We're not just being distracted and just eating. I don't like usually to eat and have like a serious conversation, because then you're just eating, you're not mindful of what goes in your body.
So focusing on food as well, focusing on food.
Yeah, eating slowly, focusing on food, enjoying the food that you eat, and eating because you're hungry, not eating because there's an emotional feeling that you need to suppress. That's a lot of times we eat at night because we're bored. We're just watching TV, and if you want to eat something that is relatively unhealthy, it's okay, but be mindful that you're eating it and you're present and you're enjoying it and you're eating it because of satisfying that emotion, not satisfying another emotion.
So noticing why we are eating, because sometimes, as you said, we eat because we are stressed or we are bored or we are depressed and so on. And so looking at that is super important. I often wondered, Dina, whether when we feel good about eating something yummy and something really tasty, whether it actually really causes as much harm as opposed to when we are feeling bad about it. You know what I mean?
No, I don't. I honestly, I think it's all about the energy you put. So if you're sitting with a group of friends and you're enjoying, a piece of chocolate cake or a dessert, and you're all laughing, that is very positive. I don't think that is equal eating lonely at night, where
tab
you
of
feel
ice
like you're,
cream.
and you don't feel good, and you're like eating to kind of like just numb an emotion. It's not the same. But of course, if your lifestyle is every night you go out and you eat dessert with friends, that's also excessive.
So I'm going to go back to Saudi Arabia, if it's okay. And
Sure.
I would like you to tell us about the changes that are happening. And I know I've seen online that there is Saudi Arabia 2030. That's some sort of plan for Saudi Arabia. And I know that things are changing.
Correct. The Vision 2030.
Can you tell me about the change and the plans of
Yes,
Saudi
it's a
Arabia?
big. I'm grateful that we're living this part of transformation with the Vision 2030, and there's massive changes, and there's great opportunities in every part. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're an entrepreneur, or whether you're a musician, any talent that you have, there is a venue to nourish that talent. This is great. For me, I speak from being an athlete because that's my background, and there's so many opportunities for both men and women. The government would support an athlete and help develop them and give them the resources that they need in order to excel, in order to be, on the top of their sport and compete, whether it's in the regional or international or at the Olympic level. And this is amazing. This was not the case when I was young, because the sports industry in general in the world was still, especially with triathlon, was still starting. It was not something that was developed in the Middle East, but now it's a completely different story, and it's really exciting time to be there.
So the changes are happening, and it's exciting.
And both for men and women. We focus many times on women just because that's again what the West have portrayed as society, but it's now for both.
How safe is Saudi Arabia to travel to?
Oh, Saudi Arabia is a very safe place, very safe place. One of the safest places on earth, because it's a community that kind of takes care of each other. The crime rate is low. We just feel there are some things that we take for granted, and safety is one of them. Your neighbors are going to look after your house, and they'll let you know if they feel that there's suspicious activity going on, and it's a beautiful society that is that bonds well.
How big are the families, and how big are the weddings in Saudi Arabia?
Weddings, I think weddings are not as big as they used to be, but the families are typically smaller than India. But I think it's families are relatively, people love big families, and we're a community that is like family is very important. So it's very important for us to see our grandparents, our uncles, our aunts, and sometimes on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis. But it's very important for us as a culture is to be with our own family. And that's beautiful, because no one leaves, like if you're bored, there'll be like many people that would say, just come over. Your neighbor would say, come over. You're not doing anything. No one is left alone.
So you would say that loneliness is not as common as in the Western world.
But loneliness sometimes is an internal feeling. So it's
Mhm.
not, you could be with
Mhm.
many people and you still feel very lonely.
Yeah.
But society is very, how do you say it, like bonded.
How about seniors? Are senior homes common or?
No, senior homes are not common because it's a society where we take care of each other.
Uh-huh.
So we take care of our
Mhm.
elderly, our parents, our grandparents, because we've grown up to be with them.
Yeah.
I grew up to be with my grandparents when I was young. My parents would leave me with my grandma, so it's
Mhm.
part of my duties to be with my grandma.
That's beautiful because I often wondered how we got to a point where when people get to a certain age, they're basically put in these segregated communities or housing or some sort of senior centers.
Because I think that we lost the bond somewhere along the line.
There's a lot to fix, definitely.
We always feel like it's very important part of our religion is to take care of our parents because our
Mm-hmm.
parents took care of us when we were young. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't complain. They didn't say, you're just too boring or you're too demanding or they put a big smile and they took care of us until we grow up. It's part of our duties and it carries through. You take care of your parents, your kids are going to take care of you.
And it's the role of the kids to say that the parents are boring, not the other way around, right?
Yeah. But even if that, there's always something very valuable to learn from an elderly person.
Uh-huh.
And I love being around elderly people because they are at the other side of life. So they'll reflect back.
They carry the wisdom. Yes.
Yes, they
Yes.
carry the wisdom and you're their future.
Do you still practice?
I still practice. I love my job just as much as I love triathlon. I love caring for patients. I just love what I do, and I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. There's one thing that I'm mostly grateful for is that I live my life with passion. So what I do at work is something dear to me. What I practice when I'm being with my family, I'm a very passionate person, and I can only do stuff if they are deep to my heart.
Do you ever get overwhelmed by juggling all those different?
I do sometimes. Yes, I do when I feel I'm pulled in too many directions because I would like to be there for anybody that needs me. But
Mhm.
of course, because of time, we don't have more than 24 hours in the day, so it all boils down to what are my priorities.
I was just going to say it's all about the priorities, and you just said that. So, if there was one final remark or something that you would like people to remember about life, an important lesson, or some sort of remark that you would like to give them, what would it be?
Look at the glass half full because we're all what we see is a reflection of our own glasses. So you
Hmm.
want to see, you want to be happy, look at happy people and smile when you see it. When I go running, I make sure that I'll smile at the person that runs across me. And like almost 9 out of 10 people will smile back.
Hmm.
There'll be one person that is going for a certain pace and they don't have time to smile, but the majority will smile back.
Yeah.
And then I'll just smile and it'll make my day.
So, glass half full,
Glass half full
and what we see is our reflection. I'll
of
I'll
our own
be
eyes.
I'll be going around today and notice what I
I
see,
mean,
and I
with
say,
not
"Oh
life is
wow!"
not perfect, but it's what you see.
And I love the idea that I just learned it somewhere from a podcast or an article that people say, we all focus on positive, but the seemingly negative is actually the opportunity to change, the opportunity to shift the world, to be inspired and transform. And people always go, let's be positive. But we can't be positive if there's something going on and it may be wrong or it may not be ideal, but it is an opportunity. Again, if you see the glass half full, it's an opportunity for change and making it better.
Or then you could see the beauty in the imperfection.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
recently saw one beautiful lady, and she was wearing like a nice glasses, and I said, "Oh my God, these are beautiful glasses." And she looked at me and she said, "It's your own eyes. I can't see myself. It's how you see me."
Nice.
And that resonated with me. So every time I pass, I'm like, okay, even the ugly has a bit of beauty in it.
Thank you so much for your time here. I would chat forever, but I know that you have a day ahead, and I really look forward to seeing you again when our paths will cross, and maybe go for a little meal and chat and talk about dogs and fitness and nutrition and life and philosophy and all that.
Next time, Peter, I'm interviewing you.
Oh my goodness!
Because I'm pretty sure all your fans and dog lovers would want to know more about Peter.
uh, I don't know.
Yes, yes, yes,
it, it's
yes.
like, we're at that situation where I prefer interviewing because I'm curious and I love to learn about people and being inspired, which has happened definitely today. And I also love giving gifts as opposed to receiving them. So I will promise that I will not resist, but it's not my natural state of being. That's for sure.
Yeah, but we'll ask you questions that will bring the best.
Okay, great. That's a deal. Thank you,
That's a deal.
Dina.
Oh, thank you, Peter. Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.